This is day 2 of this November 2025 7-day session. I'm going to continue reading from the book Illuminating Silence, Insights on the Path of Chinese Zen, words of Master Sheng Yan, and edited by Dr. John H. Crook. And we're going to pick up where we left off. I'm going to read the last paragraph one more time. And Sheng Yan says, "Please do not misunderstand me. It is not that knowledge and experience are to be avoided or condemned. They are to be valued. But we need to gain control of their use. If we leave them to ramble haphazardly through our heads, sowing worries and agitation, then they become a burden to us, a vexation and an obstacle. Some people spend all night worrying, others put away their thoughts and sleep soundly. We need to cultivate the art of putting aside our memories, our concerns, and our intellectual knowledge. It is an art, something that develops over the course of dedicated practice. Being able to put aside memories, concerns, knowledge, just thoughts. We tend to believe our thoughts. Thought comes into the head and we think, I thought that. That's what I think. Check some of those thoughts out. Is that really what you think? The value of having a say in what you believe and what you think and the attitudes that you take is so great, so valuable. It's worth all the difficulty of a practice. The Buddha said, "As irrigators lead water where they want, as carpenters carve wood, the wise shape their minds." And here Sheng Yan begins with the poem. This is Calming the Mind by Wang Ming, 6th century Zen teacher. And it begins, "Too much knowledge leads to overactivity. Better to calm the mind. The more you consider, the greater the loss. Better to unify the mind." And Sheng Yan says, the more you know, the more things can cause you distress. When you know little, then you can be simple. In practicing, do not consider what you are doing intellectually or theoretically. All you need is to do the practice. People want to understand intellectually. And it's understandable. People don't want to join a cult, do something on someone's say-so. They need to know that it makes sense. And one of the wonderful things about Buddhist teaching is it does make sense. It's awfully reasonable. But we can get caught up in that. It can be something that we enjoy doing, teasing apart with the intellect. Says all you need to do is the practice. Use it to replace everything else. When you are confused and filled with conceptual fog, you may get depressed and struggle. It's important not to become too judgmental. In fact, any thought is illusory. It is never the thing in itself. Whatever you think is illusory. Illusion is normal. Do not be afraid of the rambling mind, nor condemn it angrily. The important thing is to simply recognize the state of thought that at that moment inhabits you. Recognizing an illusory thought will usually get rid of it. So many thoughts persist in our mind because we don't even really recognize that we're thinking them. They just seep in around the edges. It's amazing how unaware we can be. When I was younger, way before I came to Zen, I'd sometimes find myself in a really kind of rotten mood, anxious, and I had to trace it back to whatever the incident or thought was that triggered that feeling. I would have forgotten. I'd just be wallowing in my misery. It helps to see, to be awake, to be alert, to be mindful. As he says, recognizing illusory thought will usually get rid of it. To have an aversion to thought is to sustain yet another level of illusion. We don't need to fight with our thoughts. Let them come, let them go. You don't want to try to stop them because you won't succeed. Bodhin Roshi says, the mind is an organ that secretes thoughts. It's our relationship to them that's so important. In Chinese, better to unify the mind, those are the words of Wang Ming, can be translated as guard the one. What is this one? There are two meanings here. The first applies to the mind that is split up, discriminating, filled with illusory intellection. This mind needs to be focused, brought to a single point. Guarding the one means bringing the mind to this single place. Just mu, just the breath, just awareness, just this, just now, here. Bringing the mind to this single place, and that is done through the method of practice. Training is portrayed in the Chan tradition by the parable of the ox herder. The ox has to be trained to do its job and not wander about over other people's gardens. To begin with, the ox herder must use his whip and apply discipline. Later, the ox is tamed. When eating, it eats. When drawing the plow, it pulls. It does the thing in hand without distraction. This is guarding the one. Foundation of practice, just doing what we're doing. It's not a big deal. Doesn't require strain. It's natural. Walking down the hallway, it's just walking. It's not walking and thinking. Eating, we just eat. Just chopping vegetables, cleaning toilets. He goes on, once the mind has come to a single point, the term one acquires a further meaning. The mind is no longer practicing, it has arrived. The whip can be put away. Three things are happening. 1, body and mind are one. 2, internal and external are unified. And 3, previous and subsequent thoughts are continuous. And then he explains a little bit. No longer is there an experience of the mind being separate from the body. No longer is the observer separate from the observed. Experience flows without time being split into now and then. These three conditions arise together. If one is present, so are the others. Once the mind is unified, the one is guarded. I'm sure those of you who have participated in several retreats have had some experience of this. The flow that we sometimes feel in sesshin is the result of unifying the mind, finding a new way, a different way between the top-down, self-driven, accomplishment-oriented attitude that we deal with most things, that we use to deal with most things in our lives. It's really unusual to be completely present. There's always something else we think we need to do. The teacher Eckhart Tolle, the fellow who wrote The Power of Now, said, most humans are never fully present in the now because unconsciously they believe that the next moment must be more important than this one. But then you miss your whole life, which is never not now. He moves on to the next stanza in the poem. Excessive thinking weakens the will. The more you know, the more your mind is confused. A confused mind gives rise to vexation. The weakened will obstructs the Tao. This is the truth. And Sheng says, again, do not fall into the mistaken belief that Chan is anti-intellectual. I myself have persevered in scholarly studies and looked into theories and explanations, and so have many of you. These lines refer to the inappropriateness of thinking in the context of practice. Sometimes somebody comes to me with an answer to a koan. I may ask them from where they got it. Sometimes it obviously comes from a book. The answer has been a consequence of knowledge, of thinking. It is not an answer arising from a mind free of illusion. This is not wisdom. If you are relying on books or theories or other people's descriptions, you can never solve a koan. The wisdom of the book is not the wisdom of seeing. If you deliberate, you are far from the mark. If you are far from the mark, you are confused, and there will be vexation. If there is intellectual doubt, there is only faulty awakening. Of course, the intellect is our favorite tool. As they say, to a man with a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. So it's inevitable that people taking up a koan go at it, at least in the beginning, with their intellect. Try to figure it out. But the answer comes from seeing directly. The answer comes from the mind falling profoundly silent. Maybe some value to struggling intellectually and hitting a dead end and then coming to a different level. For some people, that's the way it goes. But it isn't necessary. It's just the mystery of who we are, of what this is, what it means to be aware. How is it that we're here? As the mind falls silent, we begin to become intimate, and then we begin to get real understanding. But it's hard to do. It's why we do sesshin. Make a little dent in that tendency to stand outside, to judge, evaluate, regret, tense up. It goes on, the wisdom of the book is not the wisdom of seeing. If you deliberate, you are far from the mark. And again, if you are far from the mark, you're confused and there will be vexation. If there is intellectual doubt, there is only faulty awakening. And that's the end of his day 1 lecture. Going to move next to day 2, early morning talk. A little different. He says, I have 3 words for the day. The words are isolation, non-dependence, non-attachment. Says the purpose of these words is to give you a focus for attention within your practice, an awareness from moment to moment, whether in sitting or in relation to the group while you're working or eating. Isolation means keeping yourself separate from the environment and from others. Isolation is an attitude of practice. Even though you're sitting and working with others, let it be as if you were the only one here, as if there was only one sitting place in the meditation hall, in the whole building. It's as if you are alone, a solitary practitioner in the mountains. It is important sometimes to withdraw and to be solitary, to be isolated and separate. Usually we're in constant interaction with the environment, our everyday worlds. We are disturbed by the ongoing concerns of the world, the news bulletins, politics, new taxes, old commitments. All this involvement causes us to lose touch with our basic being. We get filled with the noise of the world. There's a whole industry built upon bringing the noise of the world to us. So many people are addicted to following every dismaying event. We're citizens, we're adults, of course. There's nothing wrong with knowing a little bit about what's going on, but it can be too much. And we pay a price. A lot of thought has been put into trying to get people hooked on news, hooked on entertainment. So it's something that has really blossomed in the past, maybe 30, 35 years. But we don't have to go there. We do have freedom to decide where we're going to direct our attention. It's amazing how many people complain about their inability to read a long book. So used to grabbing little snippets of content on their phone or their device. So one of the nice things about sesshin is to put that aside completely for 7 days. to be isolated. Alone on a mountain. Turning our attention to what matters. To this. Says all this involvement causes us to lose touch with our basic being. We get filled with the noise of the world. If you isolate yourself in practice from past and from future, just being present, then you can see your self-nature more easily without interference. As you go into this, you may eventually isolate yourself from previous thought and again from subsequent thought. As you withdraw from your own thoughts, you begin to discover what the independent, unconditioned self is. By non-dependence, I mean not being concerned with what others are thinking, doing, or saying. Most of our lives are spent in some sort of adjustment to other people whom we want to influence in some way. Maybe we want to please somebody, or we feel obliged in some way, or we owe somebody a favor, or we may want to reject or harm somebody. We're driven by our involvement with others and can't let go. This is dependency. When we let ourselves be ourselves, we are not involved with others. We may still be concerned about other people, but not dependent on their thoughts, attitudes, and opinions. Such a freedom to stop caring so much what other people think. That concern is like a tyrant that runs people's lives. Read something somewhere recently about 80-year-old people who are still trying to please their parents who are long dead. It says even here on a retreat, with the rules of silence and such, where it would seem easy to be free of dependency, you may not find it so. You may be aware of others' attitudes. You may be developing feelings of attraction or repulsion towards another. You may be concerned about whether I am thinking well or unfavorably of you. You are not independent in your inner self. You are still bound by habits of dependence which you are throwing out around you as you sit or as you work. If this is the case, notice it. Separate yourself. Find a mind that is not dependent on others. Even if you are afraid of loneliness, you need to experiment with this to make progress. I want to read something along the same lines from Anthony DeMello, the Catholic priest, and I think it's safe to say mystic. He says, what I'm about to say will sound a bit pompous, but it's true. If you could grasp this, you'd hit upon the secret of awakening. You would be happy forever, would never be unhappy again. Nothing would have the power to hurt you again. I mean that, nothing. It's like when you throw black paint in the air remains uncontaminated. You never color the air black. No matter what happens to you, you remain uncontaminated. You remain at peace. There are human beings who have attained this, what I call, being human. Not this nonsense of being a puppet, jerked about this way and that way, letting events or other people tell you how to feel. So you proceed to feel it, and you call it being vulnerable. Ha! I call it being a puppet. So you want to be a puppet? Press a button and you're down. Do you like that? But if you refuse to identify with any of these thoughts, most of your worries cease. Further on he says, you don't need to belong to anybody or anything or any group. You don't even need to be in love. Who told you you do? What you need is to be free. What you need to do is to love. That's it. That's your nature. But what you're really telling me is that you want to be desired. You want to be applauded, to be attractive, to have all the little monkeys running after you. You're wasting your life. Wake up. You don't need this. You can be blissfully happy without it. Then he quotes a little later on Meister Eckhart, the Catholic mystic, said, you don't have to do anything to acquire happiness. The great Meister Eckhart said very beautifully, God is not attained by a process of addition to anything in the soul, but by a process of subtraction. You don't need to do anything to be free. You drop something, then you're free. It's really the heart of practice is dropping thoughts. Repetitively. It can be tedious. It can seem tedious. Again and again, we notice ourselves going astray. And of course, when we notice, there isn't a need for that next thought, which is, oh, there I go again. I'm hopeless. And you're off and running. It's ridiculous. You notice the thought. Good. Drop it. Back to the practice. So simple. It's not hard to do when you're not worried about your condition. Just know what's going on. Sheng Yen says, you need to train yourself so that at any time, at any moment you choose, you can free yourself inwardly from your world, from others, from the past, from the future, from the previous thought and the next thought. That is to have freedom. Yet if you then think you are free and have some wisdom, this is not so. You should not be attached to solitude or to experiences of relative freedom. When you are attached neither to independence nor to company, then wisdom will manifest. Isolation and independence constitute non-attachment. I mean non-attachment to yourself, your small self, to the devices by which you make yourself safe. When you go beyond this illusory safety, you find freedom and wisdom, and from wisdom, as you look at the world, comes compassion. Compassion is different from codependence. Comes from freedom. Next section here is day 2, lunchtime remarks. He says, whether we can get to that stage where the mind and body are united within practice depends on whether we can relax our tensions and allow the body to be at ease. This is like learning to ride a horse. For a beginner, the motion of the horse is very tiring. Even for an accomplished equestrian, if the horse is a wild one, the rider can have an exhausting time. Yet for a beginner with a tamed horse or a skilled rider with a wild one, the riding can become comfortable and effortless. The rider and the steed are one. There's no feeling of struggle or separation. If the body is having a hard time, getting tired of sitting, for example, then we feel fatigued from effort. Yet when the method runs along smoothly, we forget about the body and the mind because they are united. We feel pleasant and relaxed. When we meditate for long periods, it's important to forget the body. Forgetting the body means not dwelling on the body, not worrying about the body. Let the body take care of itself. He goes on, likewise in retreat, when we have a task to do, just do it, and do not be concerned with how the mind feels. If the mind is scattered when we're doing a task, then many thoughts arise one after the other. The mind separates from the action of the body. If we concentrate on the task, just performing it, cutting up the carrots, cleaning the table, or sweeping the floor, then we are unaware of the mind. We're just there, just doing. On the first day of retreat, most people are not accustomed to the schedule. Now that it is the second day, whether meditating or doing your task, let your mind and your actions become one. Don't allow them to become separate. We're going to start this next section, day 2 evening lecture. This is continuation of the poem. And the next stanza, which is, don't say there is no harm in this. And here we're talking about excessive thinking. Don't say there is no harm in this. The ensuing pain may last forever. Don't think there is nothing to fear. The calamities churn like bubbles in a boiling pot. And Sheng Yen says, Wang Ming does not intend us to take him lightly. He's very much in earnest. He says that if we cannot put down the habit of reasoning, of turning our knowledge over and over, then we cannot obtain the benefits of meditation. To continue with such a habit constitutes a serious problem. No one should think there is nothing to fear. Rather, you need to know that such a habit generates harm that can continue indefinitely. People are perfectly capable of being miserable their entire lives, right to the very end. It's all because of the habits they've taken up, habits they don't even know they have. All of us have habits we don't even know we have. Some of those, fortunately, come to light as we work on ourselves, as we turn inward. See what's there to one degree or another. He says, in the sutras there is a particular term which points at our capacity for tolerating this world of suffering. Although we recognize that this is a world of suffering, we continue to put up with it. Not only that, we are willingly tolerant of suffering. We remain attached to the concerns of worldly life, the worries, the vanities, and the discriminations we use to judge one another. This is a world where we endlessly cope with suffering and rarely go beyond it. Likewise, a practitioner of Chan may know very well that wandering discursive thoughts are potentially harmful, but nonetheless, she may remain positively attracted to them. After all, they're amusing. When told not to entertain such tantalizing ideas and to think of nothing, the practitioner soon finds practice very boring. For example, we've agreed not to talk to one another. We know very well that talking causes us to lose our meditative focus. Nonetheless, situations arise in which a few remarks are passed. We cannot resist prolonging the interaction with a few more words in reply. It seems such an enjoyable thing. Since we are indeed serious about practice, we should not think lightly of these warnings. If we heed them, we can go beyond knowledge, and true practice can begin. Next stanza says, water dripping ceaselessly will fill the 4 seas. I guess in China they only had 4 seas. Specks of dust not wiped away will become the 5 mountains. And he says, don't think that a tiny bit of wandering thought is irrelevant. Maybe there is only a tiny bit of wandering thought in this sitting, this day, this retreat, but the accumulation of these tiny wandering thoughts becomes one gigantic wandering thought, a monster. This habit has been formed since time without beginning. Endlessly we're judging things and one another by using our knowledge and our memory of past experiences, and this has been passed down from life to life. Indeed, it is karma itself. We are this habit, entangled and constrained within it, and of this we are unaware. When we focus in practice, it becomes quite easy to see the truth of this. We can see the scattered thoughts and how difficult it is to let them go, the endless cycling of our limited and caging ideas and judgments, our prejudices. And the clearer we see such things, the better the chances of our success. To see our bad habits is a blessing. You won't clean out the stables if you don't see that they're messy. Don't need to become discouraged. All we have to do is drop it. Don't go there. Rather than trying to make something happen, rather than trying to horn ourselves into some different kind of self, just need to stop messing around in the mind. Don't grab onto anything. Let it flow. Let life flow. This is such a great opportunity to just be here. Have to be willing to be with things as they are. You won't stop struggling until you do. Tensions, anxieties, let them come and let them go. It's not something that we can't do. It's within our power. Let it go again and again and again. Take life as it comes. Take sesshin as it comes. Don't waste your time anticipating and regretting. Just really getting our footing here in sesshin. Here in the middle of the second day. So much more that we can see, so much more that we can drop. Time is up. We'll stop here and recite the 4 vows.